My name is Lieutenant Colonel Wade Brown, and today I rise to ask a few questions to the leaders of the Marine Corps. My first questions are directed to the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General David Berger. Sir, as you know, I recently forwarded a request mast asking you to cancel and rescind your order that all Marines be vaccinated. I received a response to that request from the Acting Inspector General of the Marine Corps, and in effect my request was denied. I am not unaware of the fact that for you to rescind the order was tantamount to refusal to obeying the order handed down from the President, and I am not unaware of the fact that rescinding the order on your part would likely have led to you being relieved, or in civilian parlance, fired. Let me pause and say thank you for giving my request mast a high level of consideration, as evidenced by the email I received directly from the Inspector General of the Marine Corps. That being said, I have a few questions that remain unanswered, and I raise these questions in the spirit of a town hall, because I find that among the ranks of Marines I have spoken to, including many officers, these questions remain and have the effect of being corrosive to morale and of fostering a deep and dangerous cynicism. It is my hope that you therefore publish answers to these questions so that we do not have to continue searching for answers elsewhere. 1. Is it true that thousands of Marines have requested religious exemptions and not one of them have been approved? There was a Defense One article from December 1st that stated that 2,441 Marines had requested religious accommodation with 0 approvals. In support of your answer to this question, can you provide the total number of religious exemption requests to date and the number that have been approved? 2. As of today, 17 December 2021, the official FDA prescribing information says in Part 8.1 on summarizing risks to pregnancy in the vaccine package insert, quote, available data on Comirnaty, the vaccine administered to pregnant women, are insufficient to inform vaccine-associated risks in pregnancy. Given that the FDA says that they do not have sufficient data for pregnant women to be able to provide informed consent, and given that you have not exempted pregnant Marines, my question is, have you indeed ordered pregnant Marines to be vaccinated? If so, do you have some data that for some reason has not been made available to the FDA? If so, please publish it. 3. There are many sources citing VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, that suggests that these vaccines are not safe due to unprecedented levels of reported adverse events, orders of magnitude greater than have been reported for any previous vaccine, along with data that suggests adverse events are more frequent for males of military age. Given the impossibility of doing long-term studies on a vaccine that is new, are you tracking 100% of those Marines who have been vaccinated for adverse events? If so, at what frequency, and how many Marines have had serious side effects from the vaccine? Is there a threshold of injury or serious adverse effect incidents at which you would stop ordering Marines to receive the vaccine? If so, what is that threshold? 4. Given that there is only one FDA-approved vaccine at this time, the Pfizer Comirnaty vaccine, have Marines been ordered to take other vaccines that have not been fully licensed in order to meet your published deadlines? Of Marines who have been vaccinated, what percentage received the Comirnaty vaccine, and what percentage received the non-licensed vaccines? Number 5. According to the official Department of Defense website, defense.gov, 79 members of the entire Department of Defense military services have died to date. 79 across the entire Department of Defense. Based on this, it appears that fewer than 20 Marines have died with COVID-19 in the almost 2 years since the virus appeared. Meanwhile, conservatively speaking, it also appears that at least 10,000 Marines who are either ready reservists or active duty are choosing to not be vaccinated and are either voluntarily or involuntarily positioned to leave the service. This information is according to a November 5th Sea Power magazine article, which stated that 56% of ready reserve Marines, or roughly 20,000, had not been vaccinated as of that date. It's also based on a December 1st Defense One article that stated as of December 1st that approximately 9,000 active duty Marines also had not been vaccinated or fully vaccinated, for a total of approximately 29,000 unvaccinated Marines. Here are my questions. How many Marines have died from COVID-19, the virus, as the primary cause of death? As a measure of operational risk, have you tracked how many Marines have already left the service or are positioned to depart the service due to the vaccine mandate? Given that thousands of Marines and support personnel are either voluntarily leaving or being involuntarily separated, when it comes to assessing operational readiness, can you explain how losing thousands of Marines, perhaps the equivalent of 2 regiments of Marines, compares to losing 20 Marines, if it is that many, to the COVID-19 virus? 6. Because the lifeblood of the Marine Corps is new recruits and new officer candidates, has there been any assessment completed for those who were previously committed to join and preparing to join the Marine Corps, but who have now decided not to because of the vaccine mandate? Has this been incorporated into your force operational risk assessment? These are not all of the questions that Marines in the fleet have, but they represent a few. In closing, I would note there are many thousands of us who earnestly desire to continue service, but who are being prevented from doing so by the vaccine mandate. As it is, many of us have been told to simply comply, and many of us have been told to submit exemption requests. Frankly, it undermines one's integrity to tell someone to submit a request when the answer to the request is already known. Many of us have had our families subjected to turmoil over and above that normally borne by military families. Reassignment without notice, withheld promotions, withheld leave, withheld commands, base restrictions, and the threatened loss of benefits, such as the GI Bill, which are being withdrawn or withheld until or unless we give in to the vaccine mandate. Many of us have been afraid to ask even basic questions. Many of us have refused the vaccine due to sincerely and deeply held religious belief, or due to matters of conscience, or due to what we assess to be an unreasonable risk, or because we were taught long ago that we have a duty to disobey unlawful orders. We are not at war, so what is the rush? What is the operational imperative for doing this? An answer of, it doesn't matter, you must comply in order to maintain good order and discipline, rings hollow and recalls to mind lessons learned from past wars and the tragedies caused by blind obedience to orders. Our concern is that our leadership, speaking to the broader audience of our leadership, you who wear the eagle, globe, and anchor, and sit in positions of influence and authority. I speak here as a Marine. Senior leaders, whether enlisted or officer, our concern is that you have closed your minds and have become mere puppets. In our country, this should not be so. Semper Fidelis, as we know, means always faithful. It does not mean blindly obedient. Hence, it is no stain upon you, yourselves, to stand in open opposition at such times and tame the flames of fear that lick at your feet. It is not as if people of truth and honor have ever seen it as anything less than the highest privilege and joy to sacrifice position or treasure for that which is truly good. Many of us have walked away, resigned, been threatened, or been punished without repeal and without recourse. And many, those under your charge, have simply succumbed and given in to the immense pressure that has been brought to bear upon them and their families. Do not be mistaken that such as these have forfeited their misgivings, even though they have complied. Instead, their misgivings have been driven deeply inside and turned them inwardly in ways that you cannot see. In so doing, please be aware that you have damaged and in some cases destroyed a commodity that is invaluable to hold and difficult to recover, and that commodity is trust. Many of us have spent decades serving our country. We love our country dearly. And if you assume that to be true, you assume correctly. We would give our lives in service to our neighbors, to the defenseless, even to strangers and foreigners. And many of us among the living have been privileged to survive such service. Now we are taken aback by the heavy-handedness of this mandate. Please help us to understand. Please answer our questions. Thank you. To my fellow Marines, Semper Fidelis.